Maverick News presents The Rick Walker Show. Defrag your mind.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Rick Walker. Welcome back to the Maverick News Channel. A lot of things to talk about tonight, but we are not live on Rumble. It says we're live, but we're not, because I can see from my monitor that it is not working. So I'm going to need a few minutes here, I think, to reconfigure the system again. The Rumble setup, folks, is we're grateful for Rumble because they don't censor us. But the system is not easy to use. And it's not firing on the Rumble channel. So bear with me. I'm just going to throw this up here and let this roll while I fix all the technical problems for Rumble, where they should probably hire some better technical people to develop a system that's just a little bit more reliable. Unbelievable. I'll be right back. Bear with me.
Maverick News presents The Rick Walker Show. Defrag your mind.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Maverick News Channel. I'm Rick Walker. We have our technical problems fixed for the moment anyway. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. We are firing on all channels, on all platforms now. Great to have you guys here. And as I say, a lot to talk about tonight. We have a special guest who will be joining us, John Julian. We told you about his story. He was supposed to be performing this weekend, tonight, through the weekend at the Nanaimo Jazz Festival. But because of his political views, he was and is canceled, the latest victim of cancel culture. He'll be joining us on the program where we'll still give him a platform and an audience. You guys, us, me. We'll listen to what he has to say. He was going to be performing there as a musician, not so much as a comedian. He's both. But it's his work as a comedian that I think was of concern to the people at the Nanaimo Jazz Festival. We'll tell you why he got canceled. It's pretty apparent. Through the broadcast, we'll explore that. But even more important, RFK Jr. I was at an event in Los Angeles yesterday, and a man carrying guns was arrested at the venue where RFK Jr. was appearing. And it's pretty concerning. To the point where some people are thinking this might have been an attempted assassination. Or maybe a planned assassination. The man arrested has now been charged with weapons offenses, and he has been identified. We'll tell you who he is, and we'll tell you a little bit about what he's about when we dig into that story on the other side of this quick break that's coming up. But we also have Russell Brand accused of sexual assault. That's right. One of the most prominent online political influencers and comedians today charged with, accused of sexual assault. I think it's 5 different women, which he is strongly denying. So we'll talk about that tonight as well. All that and more, including Pierre Poilievre, kind of stealing the populist momentum from the populist movement in Canada, which is one of the main reasons he's surging in the polls. We'll show you why when we come back on the other side of this.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Hey there. Okay, we're back. And up first tonight, the man who approached RFK Jr. yesterday has been arrested. He has been charged. And we know a little bit more about him. Let's show you the footage of this man being arrested. He has been identified now as, I want to make sure that I get his name correct here. Adrian Paul Espiro, 44 years old. He's been charged with carrying a concealed weapon. He's been booked on $35,000 bail. His brother, Raymond, who dropped him off at the RFK Jr. event, was also briefly detained by police in Los Angeles and questioned, I guess. His brother says the entire matter was a misunderstanding and that his brother, who is an unemployed emergency medical technician, had been told there was a security job for him there. He was dressed in clothing that made him look like a security, part of a security detail. He apparently approached the security guard, a security guard at the event, and asked for a point of contact for someone. That's what Raymond Espiro, 38 years old, is reported to have been saying. He says they didn't know who he was talking about. They told him to stay right there. He did, and the next thing that happens, the cops show up and arrest him. Now, let's show you the arrest. Let me see here. I've got it. I do have the arrest. Here it is here. Coming up. Come on, computer. All right, we'll put it up on the screen. And here we go. So again, this was in Los Angeles yesterday, late afternoon. And as you can see, Espiro is the man being arrested. And it looks like the internet is frozen. I'll rejig that. Let's try it again. Here we go. As you can see, his badges on that make him look like he's some sort of a cop.
Officer, we have a bomb dog. You want to take a look at that bag really quick before you guys get into it? Yeah, okay, we'll wait. Hey, Will, find out how long until Doug. Yeah. Yeah.
And so that the text on the screen right there is the statement that came down from Robert F. Kennedy Jr. thanking police and his security detail for the work they did to protect him as a result of all of that. Let me just see if I can find you that tweet. I also have video of the man arrested. In fact, why don't we go to that first? Technical stuff tonight. Lots of technical issues here. Doing my best, folks. Doing my best. A lot of buttons to push. Where'd you go there, Mr. Espiro? Give me a break. I'm here, and I'll come right back on the other side, and I'll be a little bit more organized. My apologies. Stick with me. I'm not going anywhere.
We are Mavericks. We say no to the Trudeau and Biden New World Order. And to bugs. Because bugs are creepy and gross. And people should not eat bugs. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Hey, no! To bugs!
The New World Order. Government overreach. The Great Reset. Mainstream media lies. Now more than ever, independent voices are needed. Donate now at freedomreporters.com. That's freedomreporters.com. Maverick News. The antivirus program. For your mind.
There it is. Okay, I'm back. Computer is just like you can't keep up. Okay, here's the video of Adrian Paulus Bureau. This stuff is just getting to the point where it's beginning to wear me down mentally. Honestly, folks. The craziness out there. Here he is. Oh, man. This is a TikTok video that he made.
Oh shit, big homie Zorro over here.
Shit, just the puta I needed to see. More like God's gangster.
Shit, I hear you're the man with the plan. What's the word?
I got it all. Actually, there's too much to tell you right now.
Yeah.
So I want you guys to go over to Rumble, check out Icons 2020, Sarge. I will be speaking with him, and Alex Collier. You're not retiring, homie. You didn't fucking ask me, dog. I need you, sport. My name is Adrian Paul Aispudo. First name, Adrian. Middle name, Paul. Last name, Ais, as in Sierra, P as in Paul, URO. Calculate my full name in Gematria and calculate my last name in Gematria and do your fucking research on that last name and you'll know who you're fucking with. Alright?
Right.
I need to speak to the Hells Angels. I need to speak to the Mongols. Contact me at STOIC Medic, MEDIC 717@gmail.com. Let's fucking break some kneecaps. Let's go for a ride, dog. Let's fuck it up. Alright? I'm putting this planet on lockdown. DEFCON 1. Regulators mount up. Stay-at-home orders effective now. That's what's happening.
Right.
Take care of each other. Protect the women and the children. If I don't make it back, call the fucking president. Your commander-in-chief, Donald J. Trump.
Uh-huh.
At gmail.com.
So, the post here says emergency broadcast. Name Adrian Paulus Bureau. Secret space program. A Gen 3 Ultra Enhanced Asset Jedi Warrior. Medical science officer specializing in emergency health sciences and corporate espionage. So, this guy is either it's some sort of an elaborate joke, or he is right down the rabbit hole. My guess is this guy's right down the rabbit hole. It's one or the other. Here's a picture of his tattoos, or tattoos on his hands. We enhanced this image earlier today. And as you can see, it says free tattooed on his fingers. So there's, what would that suggest to me? Well, common law, sovereign citizen, constitutional sheriffs. Can't say for sure. Just asking the question. Is that what his is that where his mindset is? Is he a member of QAnon? I don't say that lightly. You want to, but from what he just said, that's QAnon. Donald Trump is still the president, your commander-in-chief. If you're QAnon, if you're into that, that's what you believe. So, is that why he was over there with RFK Jr.? Was he there to try to kill RFK Jr.? I can't say. I don't know. I can't assign intent. I don't know what his motivations were. Was he really there just because he thought he had a job? Why was he there? Well, here's the tweet from RFK Jr. There it is. He says, I'm very grateful that alert and fast-acting protectors from Gavin DeBecker and Associates, GDBA, that's the security company that protects RFK Jr., they're providing the security for him, spotted and detained an armed man who attempted to approach me at my Hispanic Heritage speech at the Wilshire Abel Theater in Los Angeles yesterday. The man, wearing 2 shoulder holsters with loaded pistols and spare ammunition magazines, was carrying a U.S. Marshal badge on a lanyard and belt-clip federal ID. He identified himself as a member of my security detail. Armed GDBA team members moved quickly to isolate and detain the man until LAPD arrived to make the arrest. I'm also grateful to LAPD for its rapid response. And then he says, in bold, I'm still entertaining a hope that President Biden will allow me Secret Service protection. I am the first presidential candidate in history to whom the White House has denied a request for protection. And there's a close-up image of Mr. Espiro. So, oh, man. So he's out on $35,000 bail. And, I don't know, man. This is extremely concerning. Concerning, of course, for Robert F. Kennedy Jr., because of the history surrounding his family. His father was assassinated. His uncle, John F. Kennedy, president, assassinated. Now he's running for president, and people have been asking from the beginning, are you worried about being targeted and killed? And I know that there have been security issues. Biden not approving Secret Service protection for him. Not at this point. And, but I think there's a larger issue. There's a bigger issue. Mental illness and online propaganda, information warfare, which I've been trying to tell you guys about for a while on this program. It's rampant. It's terrible. It's scaring the living daylights out of me. Now, I can't say for sure what's in his head. I can't say for sure what his motivations were. I can't say exactly what his intent might be. And you can't go around charging people with pre-crimes. You can only charge them, really, for things that you can prove. If you can prove intent, then that becomes something. For instance, conspiracy to commit murder. If you can prove that there is a conspiracy because they've planned something and you have the evidence to show that, then you can lay that charge and probably get a conviction. But if somebody's just at an event and they are not carrying weapons legally, or if there's some weapons violation, then you can charge them with that. So I mean, I don't know. But I mean, why else? Was he really there for a job? Because he thought he had a job? Well, I don't know. I don't know. But he clearly has some affinity to some of the online information out there surrounding the ideas that have led many people in the Q movement to believe that Donald Trump is still the president, or at least the commander-in-chief. Which I'm telling you tonight, I've looked into that myself because people send that information to me all the time. And I can really honestly say that while a lot of the information out there seems to be very convincing because they cite actual executive orders from Donald Trump before he left office that lead you down a path that might make you think that it's actually true. I can also find information on the other side to show you that it's really not. And the reality is Donald Trump is not in the darn White House. And the end result is, some people, they have a very distorted view of reality to the point where they will do sometimes things they shouldn't be doing. And there are all the earmarks there of a problem with this gentleman. I keep trying to, and it's not my job to heal the mental health of the world. All I can say is I'm not gonna buy into it, and I'm not gonna contribute to it here. And I see other online streamers doing it because they get clicks and money. They get people to donate. They exploit this. This is what it leads to, I think. And I can't say what his intent was. I don't know what he ultimately wanted to do, but you watch that video. Listen to what he says. Let's watch it again. Listen to what he says. This guy. And Lori is going to be hosting a special episode of Strange Bedfellows at 9 p.m. tonight, exploring this issue in more depth, exploring this story. She's been working this from the beginning, and she has a panel of, I think, some very credible journalists coming online. I think they are. Whoever, I'm not exactly sure who exactly is going to be on the show, but she's putting together a panel to further discuss the RFK Jr. incident yesterday with this guy. Okay, let's bring him back up here, okay? Listen to what he says again. And this is my take on it. All right, here he is. And listen. Just listen.
Oh shit, big homie Zorro over here.
Shit, just the puta I needed to see. More like God's gangster.
Shit, I hear you're the man with the plan. What's the word?
I got it all. Actually, there's too much to tell you right now. So I want you guys to go over to Rumble, check out Icons 2020, Sarge. I will be speaking with him, and Alex Collier. You're not retiring, homie. You didn't fucking ask me, dog. I need you, sport. My name is Adrian Paul Ispuro. First name, A-D-R-I-A-N. Middle name, P-A-U-L. Last name, A-I-S as in Sierra, P as in Paul, U-R-O. Calculate my full name in Gematria and calculate my last name in Gematria and do your fucking research on that last name and you'll know who you're fucking with.
Wow. Ooh. Ooh, I'm scared now. Because he's a somebody. He's somebody. Yeah, he's somebody, all right. He's a somebody. He's somebody I never heard of before. Oh my, it's sad. Keep it going. Here we go. What else does he have to say?
All right?
He's somebody. All right.
I need to speak to the Hells Angels. I need to speak to the Mongols. Contact me at STOIC Medic, MEDIC 717@gmail.com. Let's fucking break some kneecaps. Let's go for a ride, dog.
Break kneecaps?
Let's fuck it up. All right? I'm putting this planet on lockdown. DEFCON 1. Regulators mount up. Stay-at-home orders effective now. That's what's happening.
Right.
Take care of each other. Protect the women and the children. If I don't make it back, call the fucking president. Your commander-in-chief, Donald J. Trump.
Wow. I'm not so concerned about where he might be riding the motorcycle. I think he'll make it back from that, probably. I'm really more concerned about where he's gone here and whether he'll ever make it back. I'm concerned about where a lot of people have gone here and whether they'll ever make it back. I've been diving into this stuff pretty deep for the past 8 months. That's a problem. He's a problem. He has a problem. So I'm not against I'm all for freedom. I'm for limited government. I'm an advocate for a return to some common sense policies, but people are being manipulated, mentally abused, and this is taking us to a very dangerous place. He's not alone. Let me take another break, clear my mind, and we'll move on to other news from today, much of which is also very crazy, because the world has been turned upside down, it seems.
Maverick News. The world is watching.
Yeah. What else do I have for you tonight? So much. I really have to kind of trim it back here a bit. We have our guest coming on. Actually, very soon. So let me just get you the meat and potatoes here tonight. Russell Brand. Some people are saying his entire career could be over tonight. Yeah. Because there's these sexual assault allegations. 4 women. I thought it was 5, but it's 4. They've accused him of sexual assault. This report coming out in the Times of London. So, of course, Russell Brand is a British comedian, and he has become a very popular online streamer, positioning himself as an anti-capitalist, but he's actually quite wealthy. He's worth about $20 million. He lives in a $4 million cottage. He's married. He has 2 kids. His wife is pregnant. He's got a collection of exotic cars. Yeah, I know. He's been in the movies. He's a star. He talks about the elite. Well, he does okay himself. I like his stuff. I think he's funny. He says these allegations are simply not true. The report was published by the Times of London and Channel 4 Dispatches. And it features allegations by 4 women. These allegations against Brand, including one who claimed the comedian raped her, which of course is very serious. So these allegations are involving alleged incidents between 2006 and 2013, and he has refuted the allegations. So apparently he's posted online a video saying these are not true. Let's find you the video of Russell Brand, if we can. I'm not seeing it. Isn't that weird? I'll look for it. Maybe I'll find it for you tonight. But yeah, you can see there are many media posts here tonight featuring his denial. CNN Entertainment, Russell Brand denies criminal allegations of his promiscuous past. And here's a woman defending Russell Brand.
About a certain celebrity and a weekend. I actually know who this is about, and I have the receipts. I was contacted in June by a journalist regarding a video I made about a certain celebrity and a weekend that we shared together. The video is kind of viral. It's on my page somewhere if you want to go see it. And that certain somebody was, as most of you will be aware, Mr. Brand. they weren't going to use my story because it didn't fit the narrative for their documentary, because he wasn't an asshole to me. But here are some of the messages. Obviously, I will take out the person's name and stuff. We had a phone call. She contacted me for more information, and I didn't contact her back because I kind of felt like it would be mean. Anyway, there you go. Put your bets on. It's a documentary about the one and only Mr. Russell Brand. And just a fun fact. Astrology-wise, the lunar nodes of destiny have shifted into Aries right on top of his Mars and Moon. Written in the stars, baby. Okay, bye.
Oh, man. I don't know. You guys can decide for yourselves. You know, with celebrities like this, there's always the money side, right? People come after people because they're after the money too. So, here we go. Here's the
news in
their
all its corruption, because in
response.
Hello there, you awakening wonders. Now, this isn't the usual type of video we make on this channel where we critique, attack and undermine the news in all its corruption, because in this story, I am the news. I've received two extremely disturbing letters, or a letter and an email, one from a mainstream media TV company, one from a newspaper, listing a litany of extremely egregious and aggressive attacks, as well as some pretty stupid stuff like my community festival should be stopped, that I shouldn't be able to attack mainstream media narratives on this channel. But amidst this litany of astonishing, rather baroque attacks are some very serious allegations that I absolutely refute. These allegations pertain to the time when I was working in the mainstream, when I was in the newspapers all the time, when I was in the movies, and as I've written about extensively in my books, I was very, very promiscuous. Now, during that time of promiscuity, the relationships I had were absolutely always consensual. I was always transparent about that then, almost too transparent. And I'm being transparent about it now as well. And to see that transparency metastasized into something criminal that I absolutely deny makes me question, is there another agenda at play? Particularly when we've seen coordinated media attacks before, like with Joe Rogan when he dared to take a medicine that the mainstream media didn't approve of, and we saw a spate of headlines from media outlets across the world using the same language. I'm aware that you guys have been saying in the comments for a while, watch out Russell, they're coming for you, you're getting too close to the truth, Russell Brand did not kill himself. I know that a year ago there was a spate of articles, Russell Brand's a conspiracy theorist, Russell Brand's right wing. I'm aware of news media making phone calls, sending letters to people I know for ages and ages. It's been clear to me, or at least it feels to me, like there's a serious and concerted agenda to control these kind of spaces and these kind of voices. And I mean my voice along with your voice. I don't mind them using my books and my stand-up to talk about my promiscuous, consensual conduct in the past. What I seriously refute are these very, very serious criminal allegations. Also, it's worth mentioning that there are witnesses whose evidence directly contradicts the narratives that these two mainstream media outlets are trying to construct, apparently in what seems to me to be a coordinated attack. Now, I don't want to get into this any further because of the serious nature of the allegations, but I feel like I'm being attacked, and plainly they are working very closely together. We are obviously going to look into this matter because it's very, very serious. In the meantime, I want you to stay close, stay awake, but more important than any of that, if you can, please stay free.
Yep. How would I possibly know what the heck went on? I don't know. Who's telling the truth? I don't know. Donald Trump accused of, blah, blah, blah with women, and Joe Biden accused of blah, blah, blah with women, and Bill Cosby accused of blah, blah, blah with women, and Russell Brand accused. Now, Kevin Spacey. The list goes on and on and on. And money clouds the truth too. If Russell Brand wasn't wealthy, do you think they would be coming after him and making a big public splash about it? But I'm not. None of us were there. So where's the evidence? I don't know. It's a tough one, eh? It's a tough one, eh? How can you tell I'm Canadian? Well, pretty obvious. Hey, I'll be back. Don't go away.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Yeah. You know, I'm certainly not in the same league as like a Russell Brand, because I don't have that kind of money. I did receive a $25 donation this week in the mail from someone who has become a friend and a supporter of the show, and I'm extremely grateful for that. So I don't have $20 million, but I have $25. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it. Helps more than you know. But we do still have each other, and we have a big voice here, a growing voice. If you are inclined to support the channel, you can do that by liking, sharing, subscribing, which costs you nothing. Like, share, subscribe. Subscribe on YouTube if you're watching on our backup channel there. We're still not broadcasting on our main YouTube channel. Ring the notification bell. Make sure you subscribe over on our Rumble channel. That would help us out a great deal as well. And, yeah, I got $25. Thank you. Which will go to cover the expenses that we incur every day running this thing with the software that we use for the video editing, the streaming software, the phone system, the subscriptions for the online systems that we need to use to multi-stream to all of the different platforms. The list of expenses is bigger than anyone might know. There are costs associated with maintaining our website, which needs to be, we need to make some changes to that actually this week. And yeah, the list goes on. So you can support the channel by donating at maverickdonations.com or at freedomreporters.com, which is the PayPal link. Takes you straight to the PayPal donation page, or Maverick Donations takes you to Give, Send, Go. We are demonetized on YouTube because, like Russell Brand, we've been targeted by social media / government. They do their best to suppress us. There was a time when we were about 10 times bigger than we are right now, and they keep knocking us down. And we keep trying to build it back up, and that's where you guys come in. I appreciate your persistence in watching the program and liking, sharing, subscribing, and donating. It's extremely helpful. You can actually donate through the Rumble rants, but we don't get super chats. We don't get any monetization on YouTube. They don't like us over there. Too much truth. They can't handle the truth. They don't want the truth over on YouTube, clearly. But that's okay. That's what we're all about over here, is free speech, free media, and doing our best to get you closer to the truth. That UAW strike persists. over on the U.S. side. For all our American viewers, we're following that closely. The strike involves about 13,000 workers so far. That's only about 1/10 of the union's total membership, but it's seen as a test of the president's ability to hold together a base of support that he has there among unions in the face of what is really a conflict in a way, because he portrays himself as the most labor-friendly president in history, also committed to combating climate change, but combating climate change runs in direct conflict with a lot of what goes on with the auto industry. So he's sitting there saying, that these workers deserve a bigger piece of the pie because the auto companies are reporting record profits, which in my estimation is the result of massive government subsidies. Anyway, we'll be covering more on that in the days ahead. But we're going to take a brief break here right now, because when we come back on the other side, our special guest for the evening is going to join us, John Julian, comedian, musician, and he'll tell us how and why he was canceled at the Nanaimo Jazz Festival, and we'll find out what he's all about. He's, how can I put it? I think he's a prominent online presence now. He has a growing voice, and we're going to share our platform with him when we come back.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Hey folks, let's bring in our special guest for this evening. There he is. Oh, we're getting some echo. John Julian. How are you this evening?
Let's see. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Are you getting echo?
I am. I can hear myself back through your system.
I could put some earbuds in.
That would be very helpful. I'll tell you what. You know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to pull John out of here, and I'm just going to run a little bit of video of what John does. This is his work. This is John playing the piano. This is what he was supposed to be doing this weekend. Oop, let me pull that back. This is what was supposed to be doing at the Nanaimo Jazz Festival out in British Columbia. And I can tell you that this is a festival that does receive government grants. He was booked to perform, and then they said, no, just kidding. We don't want you to show up because we don't want this. Wow. Well, John, I can tell you, I'm still getting a feedback loop. Hang on. You know what? It might be.
Rick,
Yeah.
got a question for you. So I plugged in my earbuds.
Yep.
But I'm still hearing you through the speaker. So maybe I have to back up a step and go to the.
Yeah, because that's why. It's the speaker flowing back through your microphone.
I'm going to log in again.
Okay, no problem.
Okay, I'll see you in a minute.
And while he does that, I have another video to share with you of John Julian to show you his comedic side. Because he's not just a musician, he's also a comedian. Now, he wasn't booked at the Nanaimo Jazz Festival to perform as a comedian, only as a musician. But this is the stuff that I think some woke leftists take issue with. This is him impersonating the Prime Minister.
Bienvenue.
Justin Trudeau.
Welcome to JPJT Talk.
JPJT, au revoir.
Your one-stop shop for democracy talk, only lightly censored. Coming across the top of the hour where it's 26 degrees in the capital K postal code. That's a little hot for Canadians, and so I'll be meeting with some firefighters from Algeria and Sweden who know our boreal forests better than we do. I wonder if we'll have any callers today. That number once again is 1-800-LIBERAL. Oh, there's a call. Go ahead, you're live on JPJT.
Oh, hey there, Justin. It's Dr. Anthony Fauci from the National Institute of Infectious Belief Systems and Fairy Tales.
Thank you for calling, Dr. Fauci. I really appreciate those beautiful injections that you created for us all. When I got vaccinated, it was just an amazing experience. Like, getting that shot was, it just hits you.
Yeah, I get that a lot. You're welcome. Last year, COVID was a bit quiet, so I've been transitioning over.
What's this about transitioning?
Well, switching over to a new job where I'm a safety officer at a construction site in Newfoundland. But I'm having a hard time with those carpenters because they're making a lot of dust, but refusing to wear the double and triple masks. Plus I got to do their blood tests every 24 hours to check for dangerous drugs like ivermectin and hydroxy, what do you call it?
Hydroxy drag queen.
Oh yeah, hydroxy drag queen. Anyway, I'm trying to keep them safe, and especially if the guys like with the big prosthetic tits are using a table saw or carrying around a rebar, they gotta stay 6 feet apart,
There's nothing more important than keeping Canadians safe and affected. Time for another caller. JPJT, you're live and on the air.
Trudeau, what's going on? Everyone is comparing me to Barbie.
Well, she's nice and a feminist icon, and I just saw the movie.
Not that Barbie. Klaus Barbie, the Butcher of Lyon, not the little fashion model doll. You idiot! Scheiße!
Next caller, please.
Justin Trudeau. Now there was a guy. He has somehow managed to survive 5 long years of the most foul-smelling scandals one can't even imagine. 5 years. Half a decade. What a rap sheet. Some say you've got to be a little cold-hearted to get through something like that. I don't quite know how he did it, but I know he did. And how does he stay in power with so many scandals? I surmise the answer is never black and white with these resilient creatures. But one thing's for certain with them. Corruption finds a way.
Unfortunately, we have to move on and take the next caller.
That's actually brilliant stuff. John, welcome to the show, and I'm glad we finally have the audio issue resolved. Thanks for taking care of that. And,
Thanks, Rick.
Yeah, and welcome to the program. I'm excited to talk to you tonight I wish it was under better circumstances, but maybe you can explain to folks. What happened with this this booking at the Nanaimo Jazz Festival, which is happening this weekend?
Right. Well, I had never heard of them, but they reached out a few months ago and said, "Hey, John, we'd like to have you play." And I said, "Sure, of course." And I was looking forward to it. And then I guess when their press release came out and the list of artists came out, then a bunch of people got upset and started calling and writing, I guess, like the BIPOC and people from the LGBT community. But I think mostly it came from some young kind of musician types in the BC area, recent graduates and that kind of thing, because they're just more of that kind of attitude. And they made a big fuss. They even threatened to not play in the festival. So some musicians actually threatened to withdraw. They wouldn't do that if it was the Montreal Jazz Festival, believe me. But and then I got an email just saying, "Hey John, we're getting some pressure from people, but I guess we'll just remove your name from the press release, and then we'll see you at the fest." And I said, "Well, I mean that's not great, but okay, I guess it's better than nothing." And then I guess they still got more pressure, so they had a meeting, and they decided for the board of directors to meet and watch my videos. I don't know how many, but it was pretty lengthy apparently. And then they even read my comments, or sorry, the public's comments and my responses to their comments. And then they adjourned and said that they can't have me because of unchecked hate speech.
Hate speech. In other words, political speech.
Yeah.
That they don't like.
Yeah. Inclusive and tolerant unless it goes against what they believe in.
Yeah. But I mean, at this event, you were only supposed to play the piano?
Exactly. I was only supposed to play some instrumental piano for an hour and be on my way.
So they have agreed to pay you, but they just don't want you to show up. So they're paying you to stay away.
Yep.
Oh my goodness. So just give me your thoughts on it. I mean, I'd say, how do you feel? But obviously you feel crappy about it. But where does that leave you? And what are you thinking moving forward? Are you just going to leave it behind, ignore it, take any kind of action? What do you do with this?
Right. That's a great question. So initially I thought, well, I can't just leave it like that because I feel misunderstood and wrongfully accused. So I decided to at least write back a kind of a calm tone email. And I said, that's too bad that some people don't have a sense of humor. What I try to focus on mainly is just revealing light on Trudeau's personality using hyperbole. I put him in different contexts. I try to do the best job I can to be just like him, but maybe exaggerate certain things. So for example, he talks about the Pride community and the Pride parades a lot, or Black Lives Matter. So I'll do that, but I'll kind of exaggerate it, And I guess because my fans are so loving it with all their comments and views that they can't stand that we're having a little fun over here. And
yeah.
So, but to answer your question, that I just sent back that email and I tried to explain that my crew that I work with is diverse. Same with the my fan base, because I've polled them, I've asked them, and there's quite a few, let's say, people from the LGBT community or different races and that kind of thing. Which I shouldn't have to ask them that, but I just thought I would do that for proof. And I told her that at the I told the Nanaimo administrator that, but she ignored it. And just, what can you do? But I did a video. I wasn't going to stay quiet. So I did a video and I just stayed calm, stuck to the facts only, and just revealed that couple emails that came from them, just so people could know what's happening, because it's wrong to just stay quiet about this. That's all. So I don't know what I can do really, but I think exposing it, and then finding out who my true friends are, who my supporters are. I have a lot of supporters, probably more than they would ever know or guess.
Yeah, that seems to be what happens when they try to cancel people. Is it galvanizes support on the other side politically. It gives people, I think, incentive and motivation to just kind of dig in and and find community
Yes.
in the face of this, right?
Yes, unfortunately, though, the arts organizations are the ones that have always had the government funding, so they have the nice grand pianos, and not all of them, but you know what I mean? It's kind of a big monster to be alone against, you know, so that's okay. I'm finding other ways around it. But for example, I just played at a festival where the director, he had more like private donors and funding. So he knew my situation. He's known me for 20 years. He doesn't care. And it went fine. It went great. And then I'm playing a private party in a couple of weeks in a wealthy neighborhood in Vancouver, and there's going to be some doctors there, and they're paying me more than I would get at a jazz club. So I'm finding other ways, my community, my people, and even Frankie's Jazz Club, which is the #1 jazz club in Vancouver. They stood up to these woke young people and had me a couple months ago, and I sold it out. And to sell it out on a Sunday night for a local musician is kind of rare. So,
yeah. Are you concerned about this rising tide of censorship and cancel culture?
yes, for sure. But you know, I can't just quit. I'm not gonna, like, people need comedy. I'm not doing anything wrong. I grew up watching SCTV and Monty Python, and then later Simpsons and South Park. And I would always just delight and look forward to see what the creativity they would come up with. And I never ever felt any hate in any of their stuff. I would just laugh. It makes the world a better place. That's what everyone's told me too. All my thousands of fans have said, you make my week. I spit my coffee out. I get that every week. I don't laugh anymore at stuff, but I laugh at you. So knowing that, like, I know that I'm doing the right thing. I'm not doing anything wrong. And I refuse to just stop because the goalposts have shifted so far in culture that we're not allowed to be funny anymore. Even, like, we have to just stick to cat videos and this. I don't even know what they laugh at. I dread to hang out with those people. Like, and I don't even know what they find funny. You know, it's probably so safe and such a narrow little region of culture that they live in a way, right? And they must have such thin skin. Like, I'm grateful for all the times that I've been teased in my life, made fun of, and I hope I don't like it, but it's made me stronger. I would hate to be that person I was like 20 or 30 years ago, where I was just so, you know, kind of afraid of what people thought and oversensitive. So, yeah.
Well, yeah, and I mean, if you're in the public eye, if you take a position in politics, if you're the prime minister, you have to expect that criticism, satire, you're going to be on the receiving end of that. That comes with the territory, wouldn't you think?
Yes. And historically, there's always been satire. It's kind of gives people a little bit of solace and hope in times of despair and darkness when there's tyrannical governments. And so I'm just doing a kind of a caricature, which they used to employ artists in the news. I don't even know if they have that anymore, right? In the old newspapers.
Yeah, political cartoons. It was always a mainstay of every newspaper. We see some of that online now, but I think it's, you know, given way to your kind of work where you're making videos and we see more comedians becoming more prominent with political statements or, you know, political humor, which I think what you've done is hilarious, honestly. Have you experienced shadow banning, or have they canceled any, like, have they shut down your channels or demonetized you or done any of that to you yet?
No, I mean, I realize it could happen because I've heard of it happening to other people. And I think because I'm hiding behind humor. Yeah. And when I look at someone like JP Sears, I mean, he's even going further than me in terms of talking negative about the woke culture, and in literal terms even, not just humor. And he's got 200,000 at least subscribers, going strong. So I don't know, but although Canada maybe is worse, right? Because they find us. And
yes. Have you taken a look at Bills C11 and C18, and how do you think that new legislation from the Canadian government, which is viewed by many as censorship legislation, in many respects it sort of is, how do you think it might end up affecting you, or will it?
It might already be, because I noticed some videos that I think are going to do really well. Like couple videos have gotten 100,000 or so. But then lately, it's just kind of the numbers are going down, and I hear some other people saying that too. So the way the algorithm works, they might just not be feeding it to people like they did, or they might be lying about the numbers, to kind of demoralize us.
Yes.
Yeah.
This cancellation at the Nanaimo Jazz Festival, I mean, that's a blow to you. It I think gives your reputation in the public, is certainly on the left side of the political spectrum for some people, it's a black eye. It's almost like being, I would say, put on a blacklist. Do you think this will affect your ability to make a living as an artist moving forward? Because, as you already mentioned, a lot of these festivals, almost all of them, receive government funding. They're controlled by, culture committees and organizations that are really kind of like arm's length extensions of government itself.
Oh man, you said it. I mean, for example, the Canada Council for the Arts, when you open up their applications for grants, more and more the questions are so leading and suggestive that it's like, I even see artists that are purposely hiring Indigenous and Black on their projects just so they'll get the money, or they'll talk about climate change and whatever the top 5 issues are. That you almost have to do that to get the funding. You can't just write good music anymore. Like I think I once started out a grant application a couple of years ago saying, I can't think of anything really bold and exciting, and so I'm just going to say that I want to work on more great music, just quality playing, and I didn't get the grant.
Yeah.
But no, it is a black eye because it's and I knew that. Yeah, it's happened a couple times. There was a petition against me before the Nanaimo Festival. So about 4 or 5 months ago, a bunch of young people signed this petition saying, and sent it to all the music venues and musicians in town, basically spelling out a 2 or 3 page document just outlining why I'm racist and transphobic, and pointing out certain parts in YouTube videos, which I disagree with. I don't think they are at all. But there's just saying he's dangerous with his thoughts. He's using his decorated status as a musician to push his dangerous agenda on people.
Yeah. What, in a larger sense, give me the sort of the macro view as well. How do you think that the government funding of the arts is affecting the kind of art that's being created overall? You've kind of touched on this, but to me, it seems like it just pollutes what the public ends up seeing in the end. Your views?
Oh yeah, definitely. Definitely. A friend of mine, he's one of the top musicians in the Vancouver scene, and actually a couple of them, him and another buddy, I'm not going to say their names now, but they've noticed over the years that the quality of music is just going down, because in jazz you have to be really free and bold, and you just have to be willing to just take your fist onto the piano, play a wrong note, and it leads to beauty in other ways. Like, because I like all kinds of styles of music and stuff from 300 years ago, 200 years ago, jazz, classical, pop, everything. So I'm not just avant-garde, cacophony, but I'm just saying we need to be really free. And jazz is all about individualism and your own voice and everything. So my friends were noticing that the young ones are just kind of more and more afraid, and they want to be accepted, and they're just kind of playing carefully. Carefully is one of the biggest enemies of jazz. Like, if you're playing carefully, it's not going to go well. So yeah, I know what you mean. And when I look at certain venues, like what they're doing now, the art is just becoming this weird, more and more like kind of materialist, atheist. I used to be atheist. I'm not now, but I'm just saying I can understand, but it's just lacking something. I think they're trying too hard to avoid certain things that were more traditional and just beautiful. Like simplicity it's almost like not enough. You have to, even on the Canada Council applications, you have to explain why you're being innovative and bold. Now, all the critics have always said I'm innovative and super fresh and original creative thinker. I've gotten that for 30 years now. But I also love simplicity, the simplest notes possible, not trying to be creative, not trying to be anything. And that's important. but there's the grant money is almost encouraging people to be like innovative. And you remember in Russia in the 1930s and 40s, like the cultural bureaus that were kind of controlling art and stuff, and trying to cancel people like Shostakovich.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just reminds me of that a little bit.
Well, it seems to me that if you have government sort of controlling the arts with these grants, it's sort of like you end up with commercial art in a way. It's sort of like being hired by a company they tell you what they want you to create, right? It's like, we want you to paint a picture of a car, and we want it to look like, we want it purple, and in the left-hand corner, put a rainbow, and and somebody, we want all the different identity groups, included.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
so,
man.
and put that in the left-hand corner. Got it. Okay. Right.
Yeah.
So that it is sort of art, but it's commercial art. It's not fine art. It's not real art. It's not an expression of an individual anymore. It becomes a corporate
absolutely
thing,
and
right?
Rick, let me ask you a question. What is the most common theme of almost every pop song, or even like ancient folk songs? What's the most common theme with those?
I would say probably love.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, if you write a project for Canada Council of the Arts, and you just say, I just want to write love songs, but just the best quality that I can possibly do, and you might get the grant if the jury likes you or whatever. I don't know. But I think the ones that are going to rise to the top of the list are the ones doing climate change and, what do you call it? Equity and inclusion and all this stuff.
Stop burning your coal. Stop burning your coal. Get yourself an EV today.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't seen that yet, but I fear that it's going that way,
See the USA in your EV today.
Yeah. Work those slaves in the lithium mines. Yeah.
Screw the children. Screw the children. Let them slave away.
Yeah.
I can get a grant.
Yeah. More drag queen story hour. More drag queen story hour.
In the cobalt mines. In the cobalt mines.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can have your fishnet stockings and your high heels down there in the open pit strip mine. Oh my God! It's like springtime for Hitler and you and me.
Yeah.
Oh,
the
my
thing,
goodness.
and what I tell people, and you tell me if you agree, but I feel like communism or the totalitarianism, this time they got smarter and they kind of dressed it up better and they kind of acted a little bit better and they hid it from us a bit better.
Yeah. They've got the system down, right? They control the system. They've figured this out, and they've got a rock solid lock hold on all of this and all of us. It's scary how effective this is, isn't it?
Yeah, and I wonder if Christia and Justin are a little bit more charming than some people from 100 years ago, right?
Yeah, it's a kinder, gentler kind of fascism.
Yeah, it's a bit more Canadian, and that's what maybe fooled people.
Yes, that's exactly it. It's very Canadian. Do you think Canada is kind of the flashpoint for a lot of this, or the starting point for what we're going to be seeing globally? It seems to me that's the case, because it's like JT is like the poster boy for the WEF globalist culture war movement thing, right?
Yeah, I do think it might be the first biggest one for that whole woke liberal experiment that they're gonna. Yeah, it's just destroying Canada.
And what do you think how do you think that this culture war manifesting itself through this cancel culture that you're experiencing and the censorship, and how do you think this is actually affecting people? I mean, we are now a very multicultural country. We're very diverse, but do you think this approach by government to try to channel or control the messaging and by controlling the arts? How do you think it affects people and our ability to get along as a society? Is this, just give me your thoughts.
Well, I think there's division. It encourages more division because some of us see what's happening, like you and me, or a lot of blue collar common sense type people see through this bullshit, and we don't like it. So but then they see us as being hateful or something, just because we're disagreeing. And yeah, I guess all those years of indoctrination, right? These young people don't even see what they're doing, but that they're living in fear. So I think the goal, to answer your question, is to promote kind of fear and let's just behave and just stick to the social credit system. Don't step out of line ever, and everything will be okay, and we'll be able to hold on to just a few little grants and little treats in the matrix,
It seems like that system really is totalitarian because they're actually trying to control people through fear, right? And that is, I think, dangerous. In my view, and I'll get you to comment on this, they're actually creating an enemy by doing this. While they're trying to control the situation, they're also alienating a huge portion of the Canadian population, and I think the same thing in the US. So they're taking people who otherwise would be kind of moderate, but because by saying they're trying to be inclusive, they're actually excluding some people because they're becoming so extreme in themselves by trying to rule everyone through fear and thou shalt think this. And other people are like, wait a minute, that's me. I'm going to run over there and be with these people. So you're creating, a more robust political opponent on the other side, even to the point where, I think most people are still pretty moderate in Canada, but I think they're even creating a more radicalized, more extremist element because the harder they squeeze, the more they push people over into these other categories where they say they're opposed to it, but they're creating it by acting like the thing that they're trying to control.
Yep, absolutely, beautifully said. And an example of that is that some people are saying, what happened to John? What happened to John Julian? He used to be just a non-political, pianist. And I'm like, how could you not stick up for humanity a little bit and just talk about the insanity of like 14-year-olds having double mastectomies for no good reason, just because they're being told and suggested things. And so I do it through humor. I try not to rant and rave, just in a more talking voice. But yeah, you know what? In older times, let's say, if you can imagine an ancient time where maybe the government didn't have so much control, if humans were just kind of left alone, we're naturally loving and tolerant. You know what I mean? But the government gets in there and they keep repeating, there are hateful people out there. There's so many of you that are hateful that we have to put a stop to this. And then people they start looking for it. They start looking for any sign of it.
Yeah, that's very true. And I think actually they push some people to end up over there because I don't want to be part of you. You're censoring everybody. You're screwing everybody over. I don't agree with these policies. So where am I going to go? I'll go over there. And they end up becoming an opponent to the government. The government creates its own opponent in that way. It seems to me that this exhibits a lack of leadership on the part of the Prime Minister because I think he's had multiple opportunities over the last, especially 3 years, to address this division and to bring people together. And all he's really ever needed to do is just open dialogue and speak to Canadians, and speak to people who maybe are his political opponents. But instead, he surrounds them. He just kind of cracks down on people, right? Which we saw in Ottawa at the Freedom Convoy with the way the police responded there, and the whole neoliberal machine around him. They just let's cry. We have to crush the haters, right? It's get out the jackboots.
Oh yeah, I just can't believe that he so calmly and smugly talks about supporting democracy in these faraway countries, and getting angry when there's some kind of dictatorship somewhere far away. but pretending like we're just like the unprecedented, excellent country, best ever. Yeah.
Are you still hopeful? I mean, art. There's always that question, right? Does art influence society, or does society influence art? I think art, especially your kind of art, through your comedy and your music, it's an opportunity to make people think, to expand people's consciousness, their minds, to give people a different perspective, and to bring people together. Because you can do it in a way that's not threatening necessarily, make people chuckle, see the humor in some of the absurdity that comes from politics, and in that way, give people the opportunity to laugh and discuss in a way with each other that they might not otherwise be able to do. Are you hopeful in any way that we can still get to that place where we can use this as a vehicle to bring people together?
Yes, I'm hopeful. I think I've done that for some people where, especially in my early videos when I just kind of kept it really safe and I would just do certain Trudeauisms that make people go, oh, wow, he does that. Yeah, he does that. How do you do that? And so it helps them kind of maybe see that he is this way. And so I hope to keep doing my part. I used to get maybe 100,000 views or 100 or 1,000 views on a music video. And then I get a lot more now. I have a lot more fans, maybe 10 times, 100 times more than I did as a musician. So it is kind of fun. Like I've even done some live comedy shows where I just show up as Trudeau only. And I'm looking around the room at everyone's face and they're just like this, 100% focused, engaged, laughing all at the same time, if on a good night when I time the jokes right. And that is something, I do enjoy it. It's I never had that many gigs. Never made that much money from music anyway, so I have to cobble together kind of a bunch of things to make a living anyway, and including some teaching and stuff. Well, for example, speaking of teaching, because most musicians make their living teaching, the other day a young Chinese woman reached out to me and said, hey, I really enjoy your comedy videos and I'd like to take some piano lessons. And that is the best introduction ever, because I don't like it if they just want to have a piano lesson and then later discover, oh, he's political, I'm out of here.
Yeah. Where were you just like naturally able to do these impersonations of Trudeau, or did you have to work at developing that persona?
I definitely worked on it, but I would say, my brothers and I, we used to just do comedy tape cassettes when you were young, and we would do silly voices, or we would impersonate people in our Ukrainian community in Edmonton and some high school teachers and that kind of thing. So I'm used to doing some impersonations for sure. But then last year I thought, there's something about Trudeau that's creeping me out lately, especially during the pandemic when he would just kind of, he was outside at that cottage in the cold, right, with his big jacket on, and he was kind of mean the way he spoke. And I just thought, I think I can do this, because I don't think I'm buying it. I feel like he's a con. So I think I can kind of time at least the words right and get some of the words right and maybe some of the tone. So I practiced with it, and then I would listen back to myself, and it's still not perfect, but it's at times pretty close.
So you almost have to put yourself into Trudeau's shoes to try to, figure out what he's about, his personality. You have to try to become him in a way. Now, I have to say, I'm going to say something that a lot of our viewers maybe are not going to like. I don't hate him. Okay, I don't. And I know a lot of people hate Justin Trudeau. I actually feel sorry for him because he, I would not want to be in his shoes. I think that he probably is a puppet of people above him who pull his strings, right?
For sure.
As many people in these positions of power, the people think they're in power, they owe people things, right? So they're there to do a deed. But I feel sorry for him because he lives life in a fishbowl. He can't go down the street anymore. People screaming at him. He has to have police protection all the time. And I feel like he has to be inside tormented, because there has to be a big part of him that knows that what he has been doing to people is not right. And it's got to tear at your soul So I feel very sorry for him. And when I look into his eyes, and give me your thoughts on this, when I look at Justin Trudeau's eyes and I look in there, I see despair. I see sadness and even loneliness. And probably especially now since his marriage has fallen apart, he's got to be crying inside.
Perhaps. I think that the only thing that makes sense to me is MK Ultra, trauma-based mind control from a childhood kind of training where they kind of torture you and they repeat it enough times that you can just be this reliable personality that won't crumble under pressure. I mean, you watch the people swearing at him, threatening with their fullest, loudest voice right near him, and he's just like, you know. Now I realize an actor can do that, especially if you have 9 security guards, right? No problem. But I don't know. I just don't. You might be right though.
Yeah, there has to be. I mean, when he's doing this while people are, screaming and shouting profanity, that's for the cameras, man. Like, what else is he really gonna do? He can't go, oh, F you back. Like, he's done, right? Like, no one's gonna vote for you when you do that. If you're well, F you too then. Screw you.
Yeah, that's right.
It's not gonna work. But
that's right. That's the only thing you can do.
Right. Hello, haters. So glad to see you today. I'll screw you again later.
Yeah.
But inside, he's empty.
Yeah, there's a vacant look there too that I try to work on when I do my impersonations, where there's this coldness.
Yes.
And that's one of the things that bothers a lot of people, I think.
Yeah, and I think you've nailed that too. In order for him to do what he does, as much as he's got to be crying inside, that has to be suppressed. And this other part of his personality has to be very dominant, where it's like he just doesn't care.
Yeah, yeah. And you know what? If I can just bring in the other politicians in elite for just 1 minute.
Sure.
I noticed in the beginning of the pandemic what got me to wake up, because I was more of a normal person before that, but when I saw all these health officials and like Bonnie Henry or whatever and Dina Hinshaw, when I saw them talking, and Gupta, Dr. Gupta on CNN, when I saw them talking, they, in real life, I feel like real, true, genuine human beings, even in crisis, even in like a terrible pandemic crisis, if there was one, let's say, they would be able to kind of soften up once in a while and laugh. They'd be able to go, because wow, this is going to be bad, and they could make a joke or whatever. But they were just trying so hard to be serious that I just knew that it was jive.
Yeah. Do you think Justin has is do you think he has a path to another term as prime minister? He's tanking in the polls right now. What do you make of all that?
Oh yeah, no. On Twitter, it seems like every single comment is lambasting. So I guess he won't last. The only sad part about that is I feel like the conservative, no matter what party gets in, it's like the feathers of the same bird. So.
Yeah, well, there is some truth to that. I do understand exactly what you're saying there. Do you have any hope politically in Canada at this point?
I suppose if Polyev gets in, maybe things will change a little bit for a while just to create an illusion. But I still think like the elite owners of the earth, they kind of call the shots and they have an agenda, like whether you call it 2030 agenda or satanic,
they're
going to keep pushing stuff. So it's up to us to wake up and just have our own ways of kind of making it through this, leaving the matrix in our own way,
Yeah, and that is what your work is largely about as well, right? It's to I guess try to raise awareness.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for noticing that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And do you think that's working?
I hope so, because I do it through art, right? And I was really proud of this Star Trek episode where my brother and I made this one where Star Trek, the old crew from the 60s, right? They Star Trek visits Trudeau, and they go back to Earth, and within a very short time, Spock, he starts panicking and freaking out, and then he ends up cross-dressing like a transvestite. because he was influenced by the frequencies from Canada coming up at him.
Yeah.
And then he's also in pain, like his mind meld, because he's sensitive, right? And he can feel that they're lying about climate change and all this stuff. So I feel like proud that we were trying to get, and we said something about COVID not being real, and that the flu, they just relabeled the cold and flu. So, so I'm proud about trying to get some truths out there, even though some people don't believe it. But what I noticed is that the sort of normal population that's kind of, let's say, stuck in this mainstream view of things, they sometimes see my videos and they laugh a little bit, or it doesn't hurt them as much. They don't get as bugged by it because it's done through humor.
Right.
Whereas they might hate me a little bit more if it was just more said literally.
Yep, I totally get it. John, we have to kind of start to wrap up here because we have other stuff that we have to get to later on tonight that's pretty important with this gunman that was arrested who approached RFK Jr. yesterday. So we're going to talk more about that later on tonight on another program. So I have to prepare for that. But how can people find your work?
I think if you look up Trudeau impersonators, I eventually come up. But if you think of John Lennon, he had a son named Julian. So my first two given names are John Julian, and that's what I'm going for, mostly going by. And YouTube is where mostly I hang out. Facebook a little bit, but they don't let me add new friends because I'm at 5,000. So I would say YouTube for now. And if that ever tanks because of censorship, then I'll go to Rumble, which I haven't started Rumble yet, but I will if I have to.
Yeah. And do you have a website at all? No? Yes? No?
I do, but it's under John Stetch, my music, and it's only about music. So that's maybe not the best, but YouTube is best place for now. And Twitter, I've put a few Trudeau videos on there too under John Julian.
Excellent. Is there anything else you'd like to bring up or think that we might be missing tonight?
Yeah, there was just one thing that I forgot to mention in the middle of all this, which is that Trudeau talks about diversity and tolerance. And it is not okay for grocers to be making a record profit. No, but what I was going to say about the diversity is that he bases it all on skin color. So it's the most surface thing you could possibly find. And what I want to say is you get 5 black guys together from Uganda or 5 white guys together from Canada, and they're so different. They have different backgrounds and different tastes in food and music, and it's just not right. We have to end this craziness.
I hear you. John Julian, thank you so much. I'd love to have you back on the program. It's been fantastic to have you here. And so grateful for the work you're doing. Check out John Julian. Find him on Facebook and YouTube. All right. Thank you, John.
Thanks.
And folks, we will continue on with our broadcast with a little bit more news before we sign off tonight. Stay with me. I will be right back.
Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, folks, that was a great interview with John Julian. I'm really grateful and that he was able to spend that time with us here tonight. And I don't care if you're in the Canada or the U.S., it doesn't matter. I think you can relate to what he's doing. And we were talking politics and, whether there's an actual choice. Well, some people think there is. Other people think there isn't. But he's riding high on the polls right now. That'd be Pierre Poilievre, leader of the Conservative Party of Canada. And I have a portion of an address that he made. Where was he? Yukon, Northwest Territories. He was far north. He is far north, and we've got this speech. I'll tell you, this is why he's surging in the polls right now. He has his messaging down. He has figured out the formula to reach Canadians. His platform is resonating. He's taking a bigger and bigger piece out of Trudeau day by day by day, and he's also pulling in support from the populist side of things as well. And that's coming at the expense of the People's Party of Canada, no doubt about it. And that's because the main issues, things like central bank digital currency, CBDCs, he says not going to let that happen. He's against mandates. He's got policies on drugs that I think also appeal to people within certain portions of that political movement. He's just firing on, and I say this sometimes, he's firing on all cylinders, and he's rising in the polls. Now, it's still early in the game, a lot of ground to cover before the next election, but just listen to what he says on this front, and then listen to what he says about medical mandates, and listen to the way the crowd reacts. He's got it down, man. He's on a roll. Here's Pierre Poilievre.
Well, plus interest, right?
And he's talking a lot about the economy.
But in addition to the crime, there's the drugs. You know what they've done? The downtown east side of Vancouver had this wild experiment with drug decriminalization and taxpayer-funded opioids. The theory was that if you gave people free drugs, they wouldn't get their hands on poisoned ones. And this policy has been in place there for about 10 years. And the result has been a 300% increase in drug overdose deaths.
Oops, hang on. And that's actually very true, and it's a problem everywhere now.
They said, this hell that is unleashed on the streets of Vancouver, why don't we just spread it right across the country? And they took the same policy nationwide. And now they're paying the same pharmaceutical companies that caused the opioid crisis in the first place to offer a safe supply of those drugs to more people. Now, the addicts find those drugs don't keep them high, so they sell them to kids in order to buy more powerful fentanyl, who use those drugs for a month, and then they sell them to other kids so that they can buy more deadly and powerful, potent drugs themselves. This plan has failed, and it has led to the chaos on our streets. My common sense plan stops spending money on opioids and other hard drugs for addicts, and rather gives them detox, treatment, and rehabilitation so we can bring our loved ones home drug-free. I think of the Oak Center in Winnipeg, where Scott Oak, he lost his son to an overdose in Calgary. And he was a sports broadcaster, the father was, so he used his contacts to raise the money and create a beautiful center where young people addicted to drugs can come and get counseling, detox, physical fitness, yoga. They have beautiful sweat lodges for their First Nations clients, and they get them out into jobs, and they move them into apartments that are attached to the treatment center for 3 or 4 months while they transition back to life, coming back for treatment and to mentor the incoming addicts. And they have an enormous success rate at getting people back on their feet, proving that there is always hope for people. We shouldn't count them out and just leave them on the street and give them more drugs. We can give them the chance to restart. And by the way, I'm going to sue the big pharma companies that caused this problem in the first place. We're going to sue Big Pharma, and we're going to use the money we collect from them to pay for that treatment, to bring our loved ones home drug-free. And speaking of Big Pharma, I will reject Big Pharma's attempts to shut down natural health supplements. Now that they're shutting them down. They don't want any competition. They don't want people to have the ability to choose other forms of health care. So they're trying to force heavy-handed Ottawa regulations that will cost hundreds of thousands of dollars to small businesses, that will rob us of our ability to use ancient indigenous treatments and other medicines that have come over with our wonderful Chinese immigrants to Canada that are working as alternatives. The government's trying to shut that down because Big Pharma wants to be the only game in town. They want everybody on their pricey medicine so they can keep making money. I'm for personal medical choice. And by the way, while we're at it, we should get rid of these crazy mandates and let people work and do their job. Thank you. Thank you. So, one of the reasons why I think people are suffering with mental health so much is because they're just hanging on by their fingernails. They can't afford to pay their bills. I've already mentioned the carbon tax, which is driving up the cost of living, but there's also the inflationary deficits, massive money printing. In the last 3 years, the money supply in Canada, that is bills, coins, and bank deposits, have increased from 1.8 trillion to 2.4 trillion. That's a 32% increase in the amount of money in the economy, during which time there was only a 4% increase in the goods and services in the economy. So the money is growing 8 times faster than the stuff that money buys, which automatically leads to inflation. If you got 10 loaves of bread and $10, it's $1 a loaf.
Canada Life makes it
Oh,
easy
hang
to
on.
get...
That is exactly what I've been saying over and over here. I'm in tune with him on this.
To 20, you still have 10 loaves of bread. You're not twice as rich. It's just the bread costs twice as much. That's inflation. Everywhere and always, emperors, kings, queens, presidents, and prime ministers who've created cash to fund their extravagancies have caused inflation for the working class and the seniors, and at the same time as making the super wealthy, the bankers and the large corporations more wealthy. Why? Because you inflate the assets of the super rich while diminishing the purchasing power of the working poor. It is a transfer of wealth from the have-nots to the have-yachts. It is big government.
It's true.
Big government and big corporations colluding to rip off the working class people. That's what it is.
100%.
It is a tax. It is the worst tax because unlike other taxes where the government actually has to pass a law to increase or create a new tax, this doesn't involve a law. They simply quietly have the central bank flood the economy with easy money that allows them to spend, and then the price is spread out in higher inflation across the board for everything you buy. And the people are not supposed to know why they're paying more because all of those costs are hidden in 1,000 different products. That is why it should be an illegal tax. We should not allow government to print money to spend and create inflation. We should get our central bank back to its core mandate, which is low inflation to protect the purchasing power of the loonie. And that's what I will reinstate when I'm Prime Minister of Canada.
That's right. He understands economics.
And I will ban the Bank of Canada from ever creating a central bank digital currency.
And there he eats the PPC's lunch.
We're going to get rid of what the underlying cause of the money printing, which is overspending by government.
Precisely.
Justin Trudeau has increased the cost of government by 70% since he took office. He doubled the debt. He added more debt than all of the prior 22 prime ministers combined. Now, my common sense plan is as follows. We're going to bring in a dollar-for-dollar law. It means we'll run the government the way you run your household. If we want to spend $1 more on one thing, we'll be obliged by law to spend $1 less on something else. Every minister will be forced to bring their proposals to cabinet fully costed by taking the money out of their own department rather than just passing it on in more debt, more inflation, and more taxes. They brought in this law in the States in the 90s. They were able to balance their budget and pay off $400 billion of debt, cause a massive economic boom, rising wages, and increased living standards. But as soon as that law lapsed, they went right back into deficit, proving that if politicians don't have legal limits on their spending, they will never control themselves. Why? Because the great Thomas Sowell, the economist, said that the number one rule of economics is scarcity. People always want more than there is to have. The number one rule of economics, the number one rule of politics is to ignore the number one rule of economics. Politicians are the only ones who don't have to live with scarcity. The birds in the trees, the fish in the seas have to live with scarce resources. Politicians just push that scarcity onto everyone else. I'm going to force them to internalize that, to make the same trade-offs that you do, because you've been pinching your pennies long enough. It's time that politicians started pinching pennies too. Yeah.
He knows how to break it down in simple terms so people understand.
And we're going to get rid of the wasteful $54 million ArriveCan app.
See?
You know, as a gag, there were a couple of IT workers who decided they would try to recreate the ArriveCan app over the weekend. So they got themselves a case of beer and a few boxes of pizza, and they found that they could rebuild this simple app over a weekend, a couple of guys, and it didn't cost $54 million like the one that Trudeau bought. So I'm going to call these two IT workers, and I ask them if they can send this app to Justin Trudeau, but just change its name to the ResignCan app. We're going to get rid of the $35 billion infrastructure bank that is 5 years into its mandate and hasn't completed a single solitary project. Get rid of it. And then there's the Asian Infrastructure Bank. This is a Beijing-controlled bank whose stated mandate is to bring back the old silk trading route that ancient China used to use to expand its empire into Eurasia. So they created this bank so that they could openly work on rebuilding their ancient empire. And Justin Trudeau said, I'm in for $250 million. He sent them a check for $250 million. And then the communications director, who was a Canadian, believe it or not, came out and said this is just being used by the communist government to expand their interests and not ours. So he resigned. This should not have been a surprise. I will cancel this contribution. I will stop sending our money to foreign dictators and multinational bureaucracies. We'll stop sending our money away, and instead we're going to bring it back home to Canada. Bring it home. Bring it home. Bring it home. Bring it home. Bring it home.
That's actually a nationalist message.
But in order to bring it home, you have to have a home. Can you afford a home around here these days?
It's a soft
4 more years till you can get a
nationalism.
down payment. You know what now it takes in Toronto? 25 years to save up for a down payment. It used to take 25 years to pay off an entire mortgage before Trudeau. There are some people who got mortgages because Trudeau said interest rates were low and debt was consequence-free. Now, because of rate hikes, their amortization is stretched out to 90 years. So they'll have to live to be 125 years old to be mortgage-free. Have you ever heard of such a thing? It's insane. Do you know that Toronto is the most risky housing bubble in the world, according to UBS Bank? And Vancouver is the third most overpriced market on planet Earth when you compare median income to median house prices. Canadian house prices are about 50 to 75% more expensive than in the United States of America. In border towns like Niagara, on the north side of the border, the housing costs are about 3 times more expensive than they are on the south side of the border, even when you do the exchange rate equalization. And now we have the worst mortgage debt of any country in the OECD. In fact, you can actually buy, this is not a joke, you can buy a castle in Sweden for less than the cost of a 2-bedroom in Kitchener. That's a true story. Look it up. You can get a picture of the castle. Are any of you thinking of moving to Sweden? The climate is sort of similar. Yeah. Every man's home is his castle, as they say, right? In fact, Trudeau's housing market is worse than prison. If you think I'm exaggerating, there's a defense lawyer in BC who said she's had 3 clients, criminals in jail, who've called and said, can you please get my sentence extended because I don't want to get out of jail and have to pay the rent. It's a true story. I'm not exaggerating. That's how crazy it's gotten. Now, why is it that housing is so expensive? Well, one, inflationary deficits of Justin Trudeau are bidding up interest rates, which make mortgages more pricey. But two, we have the fewest houses per capita of any country in the G7, even though we have the most land to build on. Why is it with so much land, we have so few homes? Housing should be dirt cheap in Canada because we have the most dirt to build on. But what stops it? Well, let me ask you this. What do you think is the most expensive part of building a new home in Vancouver? Land? Labor? Lumber? Nope. Government. Permits. Permits. That's the #1 cost. That adds $1.3 million to the cost of every newly built home in Vancouver. Permit times in Canada are 3 times longer than in Britain or in the United States, where they build houses just as safely as we do here in Canada. In some cities, they've raised development charges by 900%. Montreal blocked 24,000 homes. Winnipeg blocked 2,000 homes right next to a transit station that was specifically built for those homes. So what's my common sense plan to get rid of all this bureaucracy? I will link the number of dollars that big cities get for infrastructure to the number of houses they allow to be built. I will require all cities boost permits by 15% per year, or I'll pull their federal grants. But those that beat the 15% target will get a building bonus so that they will be incentivized to get out of the way and let builders build. If we increase home building by 15% per year at a compounded rate, we'll be doubling the housing construction within 5 years. And slowly but surely, we can build our way out of this housing mess. And we'll sell off 6,000 federal buildings to convert those into new housing. We'll use the proceeds of the sale to reduce our deficits. Selling off those buildings, you know, it might sound like a boring managerial thing, but it warms my heart.
And with that, we will pull out of the Polyev speech. But you can see that he's got it down. He's polished. He has this crafted message that he now is able to drive home. It's clear, it's concise, it's simplified so that the average person can understand the economic messages that he's delivering. He's been able to focus now and make part of his platform these key issues that have been the mainstay of the populist movement, the populist element of the conservative side of the political spectrum. So he's repatriating some of those people who were alienated when we had Andrew Scheer, for instance, or O'Toole as the leaders of the Conservative Party. They were more on the left side of the spectrum. Now you have Polyev coming back in on the conservative side. So for Canada, that's kind of where we're going. That's why he's surging in the polls. He is uniting the right, if you will, the moderate right, people who were conservatives and felt that they had been, that the party had sort of left them. He's bringing them back into the fold. And don't forget that he's also reaching out to the populist movement in general. He started doing that in an effective way when James Topp was marching across Canada. You may recall that Polyev actually did stop in and he walked with James Topp for a short distance. It was a milestone moment. It was important because he took a big political risk by doing that, by aligning himself or even just being seen with James Topp, because there was so much pressure from the neoliberal woke side to not talk to James Topp, who marched across Canada to fight for freedom. But Poilievre did step up and did meet with him. Now, a lot of people, cynical, saying that was just political virtue signaling, opportunistic, whatever, but he did it. And it was a huge political risk for him, especially given that the Conservative Party of Canada itself has such a strong red Tory, red conservative, leftist, progressive side. That is the progressive element of the Conservative Party in Canada. And I can tell you that there would be pressure on him to just not talk to James Topp and not to reach out to the freedom fighters of the freedom movement at all, but he has done that. Now, not taking anything away from Maxime Bernier and the People's Party of Canada, they have kind of tried to stake out that territory and align themselves over there, but not gaining traction with the public in general. And I'm just being straight up honest. Still not pulling in the numbers of support, not getting the traction in the polls, not even being listed on the 338 poll nationally right now. And the Conservatives, kind of taking it all on that side. So that's where the movement is. That's where the momentum is. We'll see if that holds. Justin Trudeau tanking. We'll see if the alliance then between the Liberals and the NDP holds, because it's the NDP that continues to prop up this minority Liberal government. And will Justin Trudeau last a full additional 2 years before he calls an election? That depends on if that alliance with the NDP holds. If it doesn't, then we'll be going to the polls earlier. If there's an erosion in that agreement, that support from the NDP, he can't really continue to stay in power without that, because as he reaches key votes on key pieces of legislation, budgets and things of that nature, if the NDP doesn't support Trudeau, the government can fall and we would have to go to an election. So we'll see how it all plays out. Now, folks, I'm going to jump off here for a little while and take a break. We're going to just wrap it up a little bit earlier than usual, because we do have this special program coming up at 9 p.m., this special episode of Strange Bedfellows, which Laurie Spencer will be hosting. We have a couple of special guests who will be joining us on the program tonight. Jim DiEugenio, who has worked with Oliver Stone. He's an author, an expert, historian on the Kennedy assassination, the JFK Kennedy assassination, and also, an authority on all things Kennedy, I would say. We also have Lisa Pease, who also has written that book that we explored with her on a previous episode about the assassination of Robert Kennedy, the father of RFK Jr. And as we just told you earlier in this broadcast, yesterday, a man arrested, an armed man, at an RFK Jr. event, giving, more weight to this call for security for RFK to come from the Biden administration, which has so far been denied. So we'll see if maybe now, after this incident, Joe Biden will approve security for RFK Jr. Right now, he's paying for his own. He has a private security firm that travels with him everywhere, because security is first and foremost, especially given the history surrounding the Kennedy family. And it's a big issue. And we'll talk more about the guy who was arrested. And we ran his video, and what he had to say there I found disturbing, honestly. And there are larger issues at play there too, which we will explore at 9 p.m. That is less than 1 hour from now, here on the Maverick News Network. Not just the channel, but the network, because we are connecting with other journalists around the world and sharing our platforms to give everyone a larger voice. That is the strategy we're employing to combat this rise of censorship here in the West. That's our way of fighting back and ensuring that we still have a free media and we preserve freedom of speech to the degree that we can. So thank you, everyone, for joining me here on the program tonight. Just a reminder that if you are inclined, you can support the channel by liking, sharing, subscribing on Rumble, especially our Rumble channels. Please subscribe over there, the free speech platform. You can also donate at freedomreporters.com. We really do need the support. Very grateful for the support we have had in the past, and you guys have been great. Without you, we're not on the air because we are demonetized on social media. And Maverick Donations is the other way you can support this news operation, Maverick News, where the world is watching. See you back here at 9 p.m. for that special episode dealing with this gunman arrested at this RFK Jr. event. I will see you all on the flip side.
This has been a Maverick Multimedia production.